Hello and welcome back to my show. I hope you're well. Let's get to the news. I would suggest that you stay to the duration of the ride because there's an asset that you and I didn't think about that we must or consider putting into our portfolio. So stay tuned for that. Now on other news, we got to talk about how Biden's administration said that they're going to hike up corporate rates, interest rates. And how are they going to do it? The corporate tax rates, they're going to hike it up to a whopping 28%. So what does that mean for us? That means 1 million job losses in 2 years. Not to mention, this would reduce the GDP by 117 billion and investment in equipment and structure by 80 billion. By 2023, and this study was conducted by the Rice University. I'll put a link so you can see that information with your own two eyes. Other information now, COVID deaths. I think we're all thinking about, so how many COVID deaths? Is COVID deaths the number one killer in 2022 or the number, yeah. Did it take, how many, where is it at? Is it number one, number two, or number three? Well, it's not at number one. The number one leading cause of death in 2020 was heart disease at number one, 690,000 deaths. Number two, you probably thought it was COVID. Wrong. COVID was amplified, over the top. So number two was cancer at 598,000 deaths. And number three, gotta be COVID. And it is. COVID deaths were 345,000. All right. Now let's go to the market where the WTI, Zero Hedge reported the crude prices are set to remain at $55 a barrel, where oil price production is set to increase to about average 10.9 million barrels per day, all the way up to, that's the second quarter, and up to 11.4 million barrels per day in quarter number 4. This is the information from the Energy Information Administration. Bitcoin, if you don't already know it, there's 21 million that exists somewhere in the cyber world. Bloomberg reported that Bitcoin is at 59,000 and Ethereum's at 2,100, and the US Treasury is at 1.67%. So let's get to the nuggets, the assets that you want to get into. So I was listening to a video where a person by the name of Peter Grandish, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, he was considered the former Wall Street whiz kid. And he says that he's completely out of equities in his portfolio. And previously he had said that he's into gold, uranium, copper, mining shares, and he recently added a new asset that you and I didn't think about, did we? It's cash. He's saying cash is coming back. Cash is king. So he says it's going to be a very strong downturn in the market that stays down for quite a while, and cash will become king again. And you'll be able to buy assets at a much lower price. He also went to say that in his portfolio, gold is number one. He says it's cheap. And it's the safest route to go by. And it's undervalued at 1,700. He's also into buying mining shares, I'm guessing for precious metals, specifically gold. I could be wrong there. But he said that there's also, so at 1,700 he says it's good. And he also spoke about copper because we're going into a nature of green, electric vehicles, that kind of thing, right, going into that direction. So he said, there's a great need for copper in the coming years. And on that note, Zero Hedge reported that according to Bloomberg, electric vehicle sales are off the charts. They're on fire and booming. 19% in quarter one, where Ford sold 642,250 electric vehicles. Toyota sold 603,000. A 22% rise in quarter one, up 90,853 vehicles. That's for Toyota. Where subprime lending, or they have high interest rates, were given prior to the pandemic, with just showing them your driver's license, you are ready to go. The banks gave 20% of a trillion market. In prime, they give 20% subprime lending. Where now, unfortunately, 10.9% of some prime borrowers have outstanding auto loans or leases more than 60 days due in February, according to the credit reporting firm TransUnion. Okay, so what else did Mr. Grandish, what was his name again? His first name, we got to get that right so you guys could get that in your book too. Yes, his name is, we'll just call him Mr. Grandish. Should we just say that because I'm looking for him? Oh, Peter Grandish, I'm sorry. Thank you for waiting there patiently for me. So he also says, I want to have cash in my portfolio. He says the following, so I want to read it because he says it better than I would. He says, I find that no matter what kind of thinker they are, hard assets, stocks, bonds, they don't have real cash position. They don't have an opportunity that if we do have a downturn and valuations come down on land and stocks, they are not in a position to take advantage of that. They won't be if it happens in a very fast mode. He's talking about cash. Because I want cash to be of substance in my portfolio since it hasn't been for several years. So he says he says everything is in a bubble, including Bitcoin. He says, for price reasons, I am cautious about Bitcoin. He says the real unknown is the regulating powers, meaning the feds, right? Remember how I mentioned how federal chairman Jerome Powell said that Bitcoin is a substitute for gold? Is that what he said? Yes? Go back to my last video. But they're not, the main point to that is that the feds, the government, are not mass supporters for Bitcoin. Because he says the real unknown, the regulatory powers that all are pointing to coming out against or not supporting Bitcoin. When it takes away from what they're going to profit. So he says, that's why he's not against Bitcoin, but he says, I'm not going to be all in Bitcoin. He said, this is the biggest point here. He says, after what I learned from history is after all these years, I've seen so many people have such great paper gains evaporate because they never take a profit. And that's what he's suggesting that Bitcoin can do to people. Because you can't actually see, it's not a hard asset you could touch. You know what? He's making some sense there, but at the end of the day, it's your decision on whether or not you want Bitcoin in your portfolio. So be wise, use common sense, do your research, get your education, and feel comfortable with it. Your decision if that's where you want to go in diversifying your portfolio. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. Now we got to consider cash is not trash, right? Cash is king. So we got to really consider or suggest looking into that further, right? Thank you for watching, your support. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and allowing me to bring new content to you because I love doing that. If I learn something, why not share it with the rest of you guys, right? There's no loss. There's no harm in that, right? So we will see you in my next video. Be blessed, be safe, and take care. And thanks again for watching. Bye.